I'm Jana, the little sister.
And I'm Jeff, her big brother. Welcome to Sibling Rivalry, a podcast about our favorite sport, baseball.
This week on Sibling Rivalry Baseball, how many trash cans can a fan throw on the field before they get ejected? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
11. And now for quite a bit fewer headlines.
A year late, but worth it, the Tokyo Olympics has extinguished the flame. The United States stood on top of the podium with 113 medals overall, 39 of those gold. Allison Felix became the most decorated track and field Olympian in U.S. history by winning her 11th career medal, while swimmer Caleb Dressel collected an impressive 5 golds in Tokyo. The U.S. also swept the men's and women's golf and basketball competitions.
Former Angel and Red Sox All-Star second baseman and current Red Sox announcer Jerry Remy has decided to step away from the NESN broadcast booth to undergo more cancer treatment. This is not the first time he has stepped away. He has been battling lung cancer since 2008. He said in a message to Red Sox Nation, "I will battle this with all I have." Former Indians and A's All-Star catcher and Oakland A's announcer Ray Fosse has also announced he is stepping away from the booth to focus on the treatment of his 16-year cancer battle. This was the first time he has publicly spoken of it.
Bobby Bowden, Florida State's legendary head football coach, has died. He was 91. Last month, Bowden announced he had a terminal illness and he was at peace with whatever was coming his way. Bowden turned Florida State football into a national powerhouse during his 34-year tenure in Tallahassee. The Seminoles won 12 ACC titles, adding national championships in 1993 and 1999. In addition to Florida State, Bowden coached at Samford and West Virginia. He retired in 2009.
Iconic and intimidating pitcher J.R. Richard has passed away at 71. The Houston Astros fireballer dominated the mid to late 70s. The 6'8" James Rodney Richard won 20 games in 1976. Led the MLB in Ks in 78 and 79 and ERA in 79. After a great start to the 1980 season, he suffered a stroke, effectively ending his career. He did try to make a comeback, but was unable to regain his prior form. Many players, when asked who they least wanted to face, said J.R. Richard. You can find these and past week's headlines on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com. Remember to rate and subscribe wherever you listen, and tell a friend to listen to the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast.
We love our listeners. We want you to download and listen to the podcast and share it with others. We just ask you to acknowledge Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast as the source of the material. Please do not, except with our express written permission, distribute or commercially misuse the content.
All right, we're going to try this one more time. Dun, 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 dun. That sounds closer to the Olympic theme, I think. And as mentioned, the Olympics have wrapped up, and Olympic baseball overall had a pretty good run, ending up with a silver medal. Right?
Yeah, Japan defeated the United States 2-0 to win Japan's first Olympic gold in baseball.
I believe Japan also took the softball gold medal as well.
Also winning 2-0, beating the Americans for the silver medal. They got the silver medal. So baseball and softball, both silver medalists. But in Japan, they have a professional softball league. We know about Japanese baseball. It's huge. So this is a really big, I think it's okay that Japan won the gold in their home country, because in the next Olympics, which will happen in 2024 in Paris, there will be no softball. There will be no baseball, but there will be breakdancing.
Oh, awesome. Oh, I can't wait. When is that? That's in Paris. I know that they were already celebrating in Paris. 2024, right? So 3 years away?
2024. And I think the best place to be for the 2024 Olympics, which will be in Paris. However, surfing is part of the Olympics. So I think we should just all go to Tahiti, 10,000 miles away, for the surfing competition.
That's where they're having the surfing in the
Yes.
Olympics, not in
Yes.
Paris.
Well, the
Wow,
only
yeah,
thing
no,
I guess in Paris, it's landlocked, and they
There's-
could have those fake, like at
Yeah.
the water parks.
Wave
they could
pool.
have, yeah.
No, I think Tahiti's better. I guess that is a French territory, huh? So
Yeah. So
because I was just thinking that's better. Let's go to Tahiti to watch the Olympic surfing, and then that way I don't have to come up with some other excuse as to why I didn't watch Olympic break dancing.
right. Exactly.
One thing that I read, and I don't remember the Japanese team's coach or manager, but he called Shohei Ohtani to get some advice on how to handle American pitchers.
Oh,
Now, what
interesting.
Shohei may have said, we don't know.
Right.
One thing is, though, is that the Japanese used, I think they actually used players that are in their professional leagues, whereas the U.S. team didn't have anybody like that. There's no open agreement with MLB and the Olympics so that players can take the time off to go play. So I don't think we're not sending our best. I just think that our guys just were maybe a little overmatched. So it was a great team. They played a lot of good games. They lost to Japan twice in the Olympic tournament, so they just couldn't solve them. But they didn't play them badly. It just...
Yeah, no, in the first game, they went into innings. And in this game, it's like Todd Frazier. They 0 for 4. They just couldn't get hits in this one. And
Sounds
they
like
did
the Dodgers.
mention,
Or
yeah,
the Angels.
they also mentioned a lot of the U.S. players mentioned how different the Japanese pitch versus how the Americans pitch. So that's probably why they were asking Ohtani, how do we handle these American pitchers? And then Mike Scioscia should have called Ohtani and said, how do we handle these Japanese pitchers?
Right. Exactly. All right.
He could have been the mediator.
Right. That would have been perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So 2024 is the next Olympics, but no baseball or softball. And we don't know yet if in 28, when they're here in Los Angeles, if they will be included then. I would assume surfing will make it, but it won't be in Tahiti. It'll probably be at Zuma or Huntington Beach or something.
Yeah, someplace like that. I think definitely I would say, yes, we will see softball and baseball back in 2028 in Los Angeles.
All right, so we're heading into the end of the baseball season. I think we're far enough in now that we can't say, wait, it's still early. Even though, to me, it still kind of feels that way. I don't know why, but it still feels like there's time. And I noticed in the standings that the Indians are 10 games back of the White Sox. So it's like, I think that's the White Sox are pulling away and they're getting people back off the IL, and that's helping. So we can kind of look ahead now at next year's schedule especially for the teams that they're just playing out the string now. So let's take a look. I know the Dodgers start off at home. The Angels will travel to Oakland, which is last year they were at home or this season they were at home for the White Sox. Next year they'll go back on the road to Oakland. So anything that you saw in the schedule that kind of stood out to you?
Well, I think for the Dodgers, they're playing the Rockies again, but this time at home. They opened in Colorado this season. So maybe that's the thing, because before it was always the Dodgers and the Giants. That was always the classic first day, opening day was Dodgers and Giants. And I'm curious about how they're getting away from that. And now it's the Dodgers and the Rockies. It just doesn't seem to flow right. And then I did notice interleague play throughout the season will be the AL East versus the NL Central, the AL Central versus the NL West, and the AL West versus the NL East. So the Dodgers will be able to see those the American League Central teams. So they'll be going to, Minnesota and, those fun locales in the Midwest.
Yeah, in the first month, they'll have 2 interleague series, one versus the Twins, the other one versus Detroit. And the rest of the month, they start out Rockies, D-backs, Rockies, Minnesota, Padres, D-backs, Detroit. So the only team they don't see in the first month of their division is the Giants.
Yeah, which I think is what happened this season, too. It seemed like it was a while before they saw the Giants.
They don't see the Giants until May. They have 2 games set versus them in May, but they play them every month for the rest of the season. So we'll see the Giants and the Dodgers from May till September. The other thing that I noticed, because this year the All-Star game is at Dodger Stadium, and the 2020 schedule, when it was originally supposed to be at Dodger Stadium, had the Sunday before the All-Star break off. The Angels and the Dodgers were going to play then. They did the same thing this time. The Angels and Dodgers will meet for their second and final series of the year in July, but they're only going to play Friday and Saturday, and both of them will have the Sunday off. I'm assuming so they can get Dodger Stadium ready.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But why didn't they switch it the other way around, have them play at Angel Stadium so that it was open for them to...
Right, yeah, that makes more sense, because then they would have more time to get Dodger Stadium ready, because on Monday is always the, home run derby. That's media day. So, yeah, I wonder sometimes how they put these schedules together, how they decide, and if those type of things come up, like, oh, maybe if we switch it and we have them ending in Anaheim instead of ending in LA, that would be better for MLB for the All-Star game. But who am I?
Somebody with better ideas. You got a lot of great ideas. You just got to get out of going with the flow all the time. One key that I picked up on, you got with the Dodgers, before we look at the Angels, and something else that stuck out to me, and I got backup from. Then I'll tell you who I got the backup from. The Cleveland Guardians will be playing the Dodgers in June.
Yes.
And the Halos will have the Guardians earlier on in their season at home. They too start off with a lot of games versus. They have Oakland to start, then they're Seattle, then they've got the Asterix, which is their home opener. Then they're going to play the Marlins because they've got the NL East, the AL West does. And then they hit the road again for Texas and Houston, and then they'll have the Orioles and the Guardians. So Baltimore and Cleveland, and that's pretty much how the first month looks. One thing that I noticed, and I found a article on InsideHook.com by a guy named Evan Blyer, and he's at It Is How It Is on Twitter. And he went a little more in depth in it, but I was thinking, what about the cold weather? Last year in Detroit, Miguel Cabrera hit a home run. He didn't know what it was because the snow flurries. It was so thick, he just slid into second and then was like, oh, it's a home run? Great. But how many games get called because of cold? It's possible for it to happen in Colorado. Tampa Bay and Boston open versus one another March 31st in Boston.
I did see that. And I think that their first games of the season this year were postponed because of weather. So again, isn't this being taken into consideration? The sunnier climates, the warmer climates of, maybe start there and then work your way
migrate
north.
Up later. Well, this, Diamondbacks and the Brewers start off versus one another. That one's fine because the Brewers have a dome. However, Arizona's stadium can be closed up. Why wouldn't you play not the Brewers, but another team so that across the whole bottom of the country, you just need 15 stadium. And if you're going to have somebody play, don't have Milwaukee and Arizona play. Have Milwaukee play somebody that's not in a dome, that's in the northern tier. That could be, it's like Cleveland and Kansas City in Cleveland. That could be a snow out or an ice out. Even if it was the other way around, it could be just as bitterly cold in Kansas City.
Yeah.
So, and then the Mets and the Nationals. Once again, two cities at that time. The Nationals less so, but still, you get those freeze warnings. It shuts down D.C.
Yeah, the whole city is shut down. People are stranded on 95. It's really bad. I can attest to that.
You know, St. Louis and Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think you're right. If you have those, look at those stadiums that can be, that are domed, that, so Arizona, Milwaukee, the Rangers, the Marlins, Tampa Bay,
Houston.
That's all I can think
of. But then you throw then you could throw in Dodgers and Angels, San Diego.
Right.
Probably San Francisco.
But it'll be cold, but it
won't be frozen cold.
No, it'll just be in the 50s, which is
cold. like this makes sense. The Yankees are playing the Rangers to start.
Yeah.
The Phillies will be in Houston. Makes sense.
Boston
should be in Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay is in Boston.
Yeah.
Toronto and Baltimore. Baltimore should have went to Toronto if you're gonna do that, because Rogers Center is closed.
Oh, right. That's another closed stadium. Yeah, that makes more sense because again, Baltimore and it being right there, the Camden Yards is right there. Right near the Inner Harbor there on the water. I can get nippy.
Right. See?
And icy or snowy, depending on what Mother Nature wants to do. Oh, it's baseball's opening day. I'll throw some confetti in the form of snow.
She's so excited about it that all of her nature stuff happens at once.
That's right.
So excited about opening day. So this segment one, usually we talk about, one thing. We talk about stuff that's going on in the league. Sometimes, rule changes or bad umpiring or other things. And normally it's the, what do we call this? The potpourri.
Potpourri. We're enveloping the potpourri.
When you first said we should just have a potpourri segment, I thought you were talking about the name of your new store that you're going to be opening there in.
No, I was channeling our dad and his way he spoke, and potpourri and envelope instead of an envelope. You needed an envelope because it envelops the letter.
It does. The letter was completely enveloped. Anyway, so a couple of things that we talked about before was some of the rule changes that they were trying in the experimental leagues. And one of them has started, which is the Atlantic League mound. They've started the first half of the season with the mounds at the normal 60 feet, 6 inches. That's where it is in Major League Baseball and just about everywhere. The Atlantic League has now pushed it back 1 foot to 61.6. From all the things that I've read and heard, and I know you read some stuff too, it seems to me like there's a fair amount of grousing about this.
One from the guys that are on the groundskeepers, because they have to move the mound. It's not like, they push a button. It's labor intensive. And then they have to use all these, things to make sure that it's exactly right. And not only that, they're not moving the mound. So after the season is over in the Atlantic League, those stadiums will rent the stadium out for tournaments and things like that. And they're going to tell the people, hey, the mound is at 61 feet, 6 inches. We're not moving it. So good luck with your tournament if you want to rent our stadium. But it's a lot. It's labor intensive. And also one thing that they mentioned was pitchers. One of the managers said pitchers are probably only going to go maybe 4 or 5 innings because of the distance in it. And he said he saw a lot of his pitchers huffing and puffing to throw from there. Now, the goal of the mound change is to increase the amount of balls in play by hitters. MLB said that the change would result in the 2020 Major League average fastball of 93.3 miles per hour becoming the equivalent of a 91.6 mile per hour fastball to a hitter.
And oddly enough, that difference makes a difference.
It does. Yeah. So they're going off, according to MLB, they sent out a survey to fans. I didn't fill out a survey. Did you fill out a survey? No. I think it was Manfred filled out a survey, and he said, I want to see these things. And as we call the Atlantic League is more the experimental league, because that's where everything is experimented. They have this rule, and a lot of they've already been having the pitchers in the league throw from that distance before this happened, so they'd be ready for it. But they're still not happy with it. And they are concerned about potential injuries to the pitchers.
Now, wasn't there like a study done where they said there really wasn't any change in mechanics or higher risk of injuries? And they had the mound set as far back as like 63 feet.
Yeah, 63 feet, 8 inches. The American Sports Medicine Institute, they did 60 feet, 6 inches, 62 feet, 6 inches, and then, as you mentioned, 63 feet, 8 inches. And there was no no increased risk of injury. And they used college pitchers in the experiment, but they didn't see any increased risk. So I think it's just something new. It's something different. And either people are going to love it or they're going to hate it. I don't think there's really going to be anything in between. And it hasn't been in effect long enough to really see if it's made a difference yet.
Right.
So that'll be something we'll have to come back and look at.
Yeah, it's only been a few games. Another one of the rules that this was implemented in the high A, we made fun of it, called it the step off rule, that you had to haul over. I'm stepping off. Yep, but the deal was with the pickoff moves, you had to step off completely, then make your move. What they saw was that there was a 70 to 80% increase in successful attempts. So it really didn't help the game. They were still running at about the same clip. They were just successful more often, which I thought that's what MLB wanted. But it takes away from a part of the game. And two things? Pitch framing will become you don't need it. Where's the robo-ump in one of the A leagues? And then so you won't need to frame a pitch anymore if you've got a robo-ump. And then you don't have to learn a pickoff move. These lefties who have deceptive moves that are legal moves, that's a great thing. That's as good as having a great curveball or a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. Somebody gets on and you can take them out.
Yeah.
As soon as you get a clear shot, you take him out.
That's right. Yeah, so the pitchers have to step off of the pitching rubber before attempting any pickoff. For right-handed throwers, it's not bad, but for those lefties that really do work on, obviously right-handers do too, but I think those lefties, because they are at a little bit of a disadvantage, they work on those moves. And there was one guy who pitches in the Central League. His last name's Watson. I think it's Tyler Watson. And the team he plays for escapes me, of course, because I can't think of anything right now. Anyway, and he is a left-handed pitcher. And he said, I've worked on my pickoff move since high school. Even before that, I got it down pat. I know what I need to do, and I got to do this. So they were happy that is no longer in play right now for that league.
So we'll continue to monitor those things, continue to shake our head and facepalm MLB about how they schedule. And then, I did want to shout out to Indie Ball Island at Indie Ball Pod, who I was able to get a little bit of information from on the mound movement from my side. So, because unlike some people, Sarah Langs, I don't take stuff from other people and not give them credit.
It's time for Dodger Baseball.
Last weekend, big weekend in LA, it was the Freeway Series, Dodgers and Angels at the Ravine. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So what we're going to do today is a little different than normal. We're going to mix in the segments. So we're going to start off talking about the Dodgers' first series of the week. Then we'll talk about the Angels, both against teams from Texas. And then we'll talk about the Freeway Series, since it's those two teams and how all that went. So the Dodgers, the most awaited series of the last two seasons, and mostly this season. This would have happened last year, except there were no fans. So it didn't really work out the way that everybody wanted. Now, it was fun when the Dodgers early on went to Houston and we got the nice swing and the pouty lip from Joe Kelly, making him a folk hero in LA. And further proof that Carlos Correa is just whiny. He's a whiny little baby. Him and his buddy. He's always consoling Altuve. Have you ever noticed that? They show that picture so much, and he's so big and Altuve's so small. It is like a father-son, patting him on the back. It's too bad that you struck out.
Yeah. Well, in the first game, let's talk about the atmosphere of the game. It was raucous. It was loud. I was watching the game, and I always watch the LA feed, and there were times where I could hardly hear Joe Davis and Orel Hershiser call the game. It was that loud. And of course, people know where microphones are in the stadium, and they tend to be louder during that time. There were also some things that the Dodgers fans did boo Altuve every time he came up. Carlos Correa every time he came up. Those were the two big guys. Alec Bregman, he's like, I hurt myself. I had to go in rehab. Oh wait, the Astros are playing the in Dodger Stadium. I think I hurt something else. So I'm
gonna have to be in Round Rock on a rehab assignment.
That's right. I got something going on. I can't be there. So he wasn't there. And the first game did not go the Dodgers' way. Walker Buehler was on the mound, but Lance McCullers Jr. was also on the mound for Houston. He had 9 strikeouts. He looked really good, 6 2/3 innings. Walker pitched 6 innings, but, gave up 5 hits and a run. Had 5 strikeouts. But the thing about Lance McCullers Jr. is he wasn't part of that World Series cheaters, but he has that. It's like he's kind of taken that persona on. And when they won, he tweeted out, "This was for H-Town." Like, okay. Like what? I don't know. that, I mean, I get it, but you weren't part of that. It just.
Really, only Correa and Altuve were really members of that team.
Mm-hmm.
And those were the guys who, Correa more than even Altuve, were the guys who made it worse. Correa doubled down on everything.
He still doubled down. I mean, really, even though Altuve, they came out and they had their little statement that was like, 3 words, and Bregman, and they were, downcast, and they were talking, okay, but Correa was like, we earned that championship. We didn't cheat. We didn't do it. And he still, I think, thinks that he still has that. But
that's like O.J. Simpson still claims he didn't, murder anybody.
Right.
But
yeah.
By now it's like, just let it go. You got away with it.
Yeah. In this first game, again, going back to the atmosphere, there were a lot of trash cans thrown, the inflatable trash cans people threw out on the field. There were several warnings from the Dodgers, announcer, that, this is not tolerated. And one of the things that he said it didn't make a difference to him, his catcher said otherwise, was Walker Buehler. Not that he didn't pitch well, but he did have 3 walks and only 5 strikeouts, which is low for him. There were several times when the play of the game was stopped because somebody threw a trash can on the field. And Will Smith said that it did mess with his timing. And Walker Buehler, I don't know that he would admit to it, but he probably would never admit to it. But I'm wondering, he wasn't as sharp as he normally would be. And so maybe the Dodger fans, the first night, the people who came the second night, maybe they learned something. It was still raucous. It was still loud, but it wasn't as crazy, it wasn't as, maybe it was still crazy, but I mean, there were some trash cans that were thrown, but they didn't do it when the Dodgers were pitching. And who was pitching? Mad Max in his Dodger debut. And I gotta say, he does look really good in Dodger blue, and especially with his eyes, with the one blue and the one brown. That's just, I mean, it's like, it was awesome. He was on fire, and he said he never received a curtain call. And you don't usually see this for a pitcher, but he got a curtain call in his first start from the Dodger faithful. He went 7 innings, gave up 5 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, and he did give up a home run. And how many strikeouts did he have?
10.
10. That's right. Because I wrote a 0 and forgot to put the 1 in front of it. And I'm like, that is not right.
Nope.
10 strikeouts. So not only he has 10 strikeouts, enduring himself to the Dodger faithful, so the next day they can go get a jumbo jack, courtesy of Max.
That's right. Thanks, Max. Welcome to LA. We're not hungry, so it's easy to be thankful.
And not only that, he struck out Altuve 4 times. Well, Altuve struck out 4 times, but 3 of those were courtesy of Max Scherzer. And he said the energy and just everything that was going on in that stadium, he was feeding off of that. And he's the type of guy that you could see him doing
right. Well,
that.
I mean, he's a veteran like that. He's been in a lot of situations where it's that crazy.
Well, and I think that's where the difference was too, between game 1, where it was just all out nuts in the stands, and and to game 2, where people were still, yes, we're going to still boo and we're still going to do these things, but it was a little bit more maybe I didn't want to say sophisticated in a way, but also maybe because the excitement of Max Scherzer and his first start with the Dodgers, I think, played into that.
Yeah, it muted down just a little bit the
Yeah.
second night. It also helped that on the second night that Mookie hit 2 home runs.
Yep.
AJ was 2 for 4 with a home run and 2 RBIs. The Will Smith had 3 RBIs and a home run. So those things helped because the night before, really nothing good happened offensively. They had 5 total hits, and Max Muncy struck out 3 times. So that didn't help. The Asterix made 2 errors in both games, but they weren't able to capitalize on those errors in the first game, obviously.
Yeah.
And one thing I saw that I thought was kind of funny was that Lance McCullers Jr. was used as a pinch hitter in the second game. In the 5th inning, he came in and pinch hit. Everybody gave up a home run. Max gave up a home run. Joe Kelly gave up a home run. And Kenley Jansen gave up a home run. Should have been like 7-2 or something, but those other home runs being given up brought it to a 7-5.
7-5, win for the Dodgers. But when Kyle Tucker hit that home run off of Kenley Jansen, it was like, are you kidding? No, this cannot be happening.
I was fastening my seatbelt because I thought, here we go.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But he was able to get it together, get the game, close out the game. Now, Joe Kelly, he gave up a home run to Correa. Correa, he is just a villain, and he enjoys being a villain. He relishes being a villain. And I really can't see him. He will be a free agent next season. He's also in that class of shortstops that will all be free agents. And I really can't see him playing anywhere else but with the Asterix because he's polarizing. And maybe that's because I'm a Dodger fan, but I really think he's just a polarizing figure.
I think that it's one thing being a Dodger fan or a fan of a team that was affected by this, because the Yankee fans are just as upset. They feel like they got cheated out of a chance at the World Series in 2017. But there's one thing about how the Dodger fan views like a Giants or the Padres. The Carlos Correa and that Asterisk team, the 2017 team, has across the board fans all over are ticked off at the way it was all handled, what happened. And I think had they come out and said, we're sorry, we let the competition get, it doesn't even have to be that good of an apology, just one that makes sense. We let the competition take us over and the want to win. We know that we're a good enough team without it, but we didn't trust ourselves or believe in ourselves fully, and we went down this road. Had they done that, nobody would care.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. Mm-mm. And the only one now, Altuve's been pretty quiet. Like you said, Carlos Correa is the one who's out there running his mouth all the time. Somebody who matters not in any baseball circle at any point in time in his career seems to think he needs to be part of this, and that's Josh Reddick, who thought he was something awesome. Mr. DFA can't even play for the worst team in baseball. They let you go. You're worse than the worst team in baseball.
I wonder if Josh Reddick's tweet, because he sent out this tweet of Loki, the villain brother from Thor's villain brother, and, like scoreboard watching. And the Diamondbacks are like, he's not even, one, he's not good. And two, doesn't even care about our team. He's still wanting to be an asterisk. So we're kicking him to the curb. So I say, good job, D-backs.
You
kicking
won.
him to the curb. Yes, right.
Yes, you won.
D-backs 1, Reddick 0.
So I wonder now, is it over?
I think as the time, it's been 4 years. However, as you mentioned, fans didn't get this opportunity to get out that pent-up frustration. So maybe when they play, I think there will always be, especially, and I don't think it matters where they play. If they continue to play for the Asterix or if they play somewhere else. But especially Altuve and Bregman and Correa, of course. I think there will always be I think they're always going to get booed because they were part of that.
Towards them.
Yeah. But will it be to, where the people are still throwing trash cans on the field? I think that, those kind of things kind of go away unless you're in the Bronx, and then you may get baseballs thrown on the field that were promotional items from the Yankees, So I don't know if it ever goes away. I don't think it ever goes away, but I think maybe the level of will maybe tone down. But I think those players in particular will always
will it be
booed.
less about the Asterix as an organization and more about those players?
I think eventually.
Booed? I think Altuve probably ruined a chance at the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when you look at the Asterix before and you think, they're good ball players. So why did you have to resort to using those type of methods? I mean, sign stealing, it's part of on the field. You're at second base, that kind of thing has happened. And I think people look at that as that's just part of the game on the field. But when you're using other means off of the field, it becomes a much bigger thing. And so that is something that I don't think they're ever going to live down. But then I think it does go back to the individual player, because the Houston Astros, as you mentioned, the players that are there, Michael Brantley, he's a good ball player. He wasn't there, but he didn't get booed. I mean, that's the one thing is the Dodger fans did not boo, him or some of the other guys, even though like Kyle Tucker, he has that face that you just want to punch. So I think eventually it gets to the point where it's more going to be individual players than a team as a whole, because they're not always going to, we don't know where they're going to end up. Will they always be the Asterix? Well, they'll always be asses, yes. But yes.
Asses, Asterix. I think they are, because that World Series, and, we should be continuing to boo the commissioner as long as he's in there too, because he helped create a lot of this by there being no, they're not having any kind of punishment, really.
Yeah, and any baseball writer or, analyst, commentator, I don't care how you feel about the Asterix, but the fans always get their due. The Dodger fans needed to be raucous, and they needed to, have a whole stadium chanting F. Altuve.
Forget Altuve,
right? Forget Altuve, which was kind of like, what are they saying? But it gets it out. It's like one of those things, like people would say, if you're feeling frustrated or you're having scream into a pillow, you've ever heard that? Uh-huh. And that's what the Dodger fans were doing. They were just doing it in public. So I think that the writers and anybody, I'm specifically thinking of John Heyman, you don't count, because you're not a Dodger fan. You're not, and really I don't know that you're a baseball fan, but you don't count. And the Dodger fans needed that release to be able to
I think a lot of people believe that. I think a lot of the issues for a lot of the folks that I heard on TV or radio was just the throwing of the trash cans on the field and some of that, but the booing and that the fans got under Altuve's skin. And then I also, before we move on to talk about the Angels and Rangers, what if Correa wants to leave? Houston because he wants to get away from this persona that he picked up, and now he has to run with it or look like he could have just been like Bregman and Altuve, who have basically shut up about it.
Yeah, when they just take it, it's Bregman. It's kind of like, all right, I know when I get announced, I'm going to be booed. And even I think we did talk about this. Bregman was supposed to, or he was hoping that one of his rehab assignments was going to be in Albuquerque, and he is from Albuquerque. But the fans here in Albuquerque said, because there's a huge Dodger contingent, but again, it also goes back to just being a baseball fan, and they cheated. They said, yeah, the lab, as they call it, where the isotopes play, was not going to be a friendly confine for Bregman if he did show up.
The hometown boy.
And he didn't show up. He hasn't been here yet.
No. Playing in Round Rock.
Yep.
All right, so the Dodgers and the Asterisks split 1-1. Unless they end up in the World Series against each other, they won't see each other for another 3 seasons, because you'll have next season they've got the AL Central, then they'll have the AL East, and it'll be the third year that they'll get the AL West again. So it'll be a little while, and of course in that things change. This stuff didn't fade because you had a whole year of isolation to sit there and let it fester and ferment into the explosion.
And also there was somebody had went and looked at every single game that the Asterisks played, and especially at home, but other places too, but at home. And you can, and said, okay, during this segment, you can hear, this. And so what were people doing while they were cooped up in the house? They were watching that video of the trash cans being hit. So yeah, it was a lot of pent up frustration.
All right, so the Angels headed to Texas. So the bottom 2 teams of the American League West, the Angels hovering at 500. Actually, this week ended up being 1 game above 500 for the week. And a pretty decent series that they had in Texas. They took 3 of the 4 games, losing the first one. They only had 3 hits in game 1 in the 4-1 loss. They were 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position and left 4 on base. Not much happening. And that's the one thing that I've noticed. The Angels pitching since the midway point, so early July, has been a lot better than it was before. I think I saw that the bullpen overall ERA is it had been 6 something, is now at about 3.5. So they've really, and there's been some good outings from the starters. In this one, Chris Rodriguez took the start and went 6 innings, gave up 4 hits and 4 runs, struck out 7. Mike Myers and Jose Quintana gave up 0 runs. They shut it down from there. But Chris Rodriguez started looking better. Most of these runs given up early, and then they shut it down. So they're still working on it. And with the way that this season is going for the Angels, they're going to be able to let some of these kids get out there and play and develop a little bit. And then we might have something for next year. We don't know. 1 month's worth of good play doesn't mean. The only person right now on the team that has shown that 1 month was worth investing in would be Jared Walsh, who of course is waiting to come back off the injured list, or has been on there until recently. So tough loss, 4-1. They couldn't get anything going. It was Juan Lagares drove in Phil Gosselin. The next night, Phil Gosselin went 3 for 5, so the goose was loose, and Captain Jack Mayfield with another home run to contribute to in the 11-3 win. Jose Suarez, 5 2/3, 6 hits, only gave up 3 runs. Shohei had a double, and they had called up Joe Adell who was a scratch from the Monday game, the game one, but he came in the next day, 3 for 4, 3 RBIs. Not a bad game. Still iffy in the outfield. Had a couple of plays where he almost fell on what should have been a routine bounce off the wall play and just about took a tumbler. And he still has that kind of lackadaisical way about it. I saw him, though, hit a double, and he was trucking. And I was like, that's what we need to see every time.
Right. Yeah.
The Rangers, Jordan Lyles was the loser in that. And then Dennis Santana and Brett Martin. Brett Martin, the reason I brought him up was 2 of 3 inherited runners scored.
Ooh.
And that's become one of those things that it's like, that's a problem. Runners in scoring position, how did you hit? And did the relievers let inherited runners score? So that didn't help them. They lost 11-3. Next night, much closer game, 2-1. Captain Jack with another home run. Jay Up went 2 for 4. And Shohei was on the mound, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, only 1 run given up, 6 strikeouts. He had a pretty decent outing overall.
Yeah, Rizel Iglesias had his 23rd save.
Yep.
So looking good there.
And then in game 4 of the series, the Thursday night, the Angels blanked the Rangers. Fletch, 2 for 4 with a stolen base. Adam Eaton hit his first home run as an Angel. And then Jose Iglesias, 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs. Max Stassi, 1 for 3 with a sacrifice fly and an RBI. And the big news out of that game was Dylan Bundy, who got the start out of necessity. They needed somebody. And he went 6 1/3 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 6 strikeouts.
Yeah, looking a lot better than he has. And I think some of that, too, is he's changing some mechanics. He's working on some different things there. So
shortening his arm. He was bringing it way back, he said, to get more power to throw the ball harder and faster. But what was happening was he was just losing control, and he didn't want to go through this whole process. I guess part of the process is throwing a football before games, so you have a shorter arm movement. Because football, you're not going to bring all the way back.
Right.
To throw.
Yeah.
You're going to be more up, and then you're going to throw it with a shorter. So, and it looks like it's been working. Dylan Bundy, that we're hoping, he's probably still going to be something, because they said they thought it was going to be about an 8-week process to work with these new mechanics. It took him about half that time, because he at first didn't want to do it, but realized, if I don't do something, where am I going to play next year?
Right.
He's at the end of his contract.
Yeah.
So a good, they did what they were supposed to do. You got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. And the Rangers are one of those teams. So they worked that out. They took 3 of the 4 before heading Chavez Ravine.
So I want to kind of take a look back over the last 3 weeks. On a Friday, Dodgers have played the Rockies, lost in innings. Played the Diamondbacks on a Friday, lost in innings. Start this series with the Angels, and because on a Friday, and guess what the Dodgers did? They lost in innings 3 weeks in a row.
That seems like a trend.
It is a trend, and it's not a good trend. And looking at where the Angels are in the standings, not in the same as bad, I guess, as the where the Rockies and the D-backs are as far as games back. But really, the Dodgers, because of they should beat the Angels. But it's a Friday.
Right. They're a team that they should beat. Absolutely.
And it's innings. It's like sometimes you're like, oh, it's Friday. We're going to have pizza for dinner every Friday. We kind of had that thing. Well, for the Dodgers, apparently, they've gotten into, it's Friday. We're going to have innings, and we're going to lose because we're 1-12.
Yeah, 1-12.
Which makes no sense.
And those 12 are in a row. That one was like a Zinning win early in the season.
And that was against the Padres.
The Dregs.
Yeah.
In the first series of
That's right. So every time they've been in Zinnings, it is in a row. Holy cow. It's just.
They've lost every other Zinnings game
since then. And they ask Dave Robots, what's going on? And he doesn't know. I mean, he's a robot. He should know. But he doesn't.
He just
that artificial
spouts out
intelligence
whatever has been ever been
programmed. Yeah. So here we go. Another the Freeway Series in LA in Dodger Stadium, and it's innings, and the Angels win 4-3.
But it looked like at one point that the Dodgers had it.
Oh yeah,
under control.
Yeah. They would have had it under control, but when you leave 10 on base and you're 2 for 12 with runners in scoring position, it doesn't help. And
they had 11 hits. It's not like they didn't have enough offense. They had the opportunities, but they could only score 3 runs. The Angels they waited. The Dodgers scored in the first and the fourth. The Angels didn't score till the 5th, 6th. And then again in the 10th. And once again, in this Zinnings thing, the Angels were able to move the ghost runner over. Joe Adele was on second to start it, and they were able to move him.
Yeah, and the Dodgers cannot do that. They, for some reason, they cannot get that guy from second over. I mean, not even to third. And if they do get him to third, that's it. They're there. They pop up. Trey Turner, this was his debut as a Dodger. He wasn't in the lineup, but he did pinch hit. And I was really concerned because he popped up and I'm like, no, you have the curse of the Zinnings or something.
You are a Dodger.
You are a Dodger. You're a full-fledged Dodger. You popped up. But yeah, they didn't have anything going. And Patrick Sandoval on the mound for the Angels. Wish it was maybe for the Dodgers, but no, really. I mean, Price was on the mound for the Dodgers. It wasn't bad. I mean, he went 5 1/3 innings, gave up 4 hits, 2 runs.
And he got a single.
Got a single. He did give up 2 home runs. So, but Sandoval, on the other hand, 5 innings, 7 hits, gave up 2 runs, had 4 strikeouts, 2 walks. But yeah, they're just getting it done, and they're smart. I think one of the smartest players that I see play the game is David Fletcher. He just knows there's just things that he does that are, maybe some people like, oh, that's old school, but he just is able to do it.
No, he really is. He really is old school as far as that goes. The way that he hits, the way that he plays, the things that he sees, it's odd when you see him make a mistake. Overall, it was a good game for both sides, except that once you get to Zinnings, the Dodgers forget how to play baseball. Jose Iglesias and Captain Jack Mayfield, both with homers. I think it was Jose Iglesias that hit the single that scored Adele, and that would be the winning run. Raisel Iglesias picked up save number 24 in that game. And then Austin Warren, who we didn't talk about last week, is a rookie who's come up and has had some success. And it looks like, and there's a lot of talk about him, mostly because he's kind of diminutive. He's in that David Fletcher size. He's not very tall, and he just doesn't look like he would be.
But he's taller than Altuve.
Well, that's not hard to do. Altuve's like 2'3".
That's true. But yeah, he's a smaller guy, and I don't think he started off as a pitcher.
No, I don't think so either.
He was like a shortstop or maybe in the infield, and so he looked really good. The Dodgers actually saw. I think he pitched a couple of times against the Dodgers in relief. So. Yeah, might give up a hit, but he doesn't. He keeps no runs score.
So in the second game, things kind of changed a little bit. Jumbo jacks, because there was 12 strikeouts by the Dodgers, so that was good. Unfortunately, no French fries because the Angels lost. You could have had both. The Angels win, get the French fries. The Dodgers still could have struck out 12, got the jumbo jack.
Yeah, but they
No.
would have lost. And anyway, yeah.
So 5-3 victory. Another pretty good game, though, from just baseball watching. It was a decent game. The Angels scored their 3 all in the third inning. J-Up was in the leadoff spot again. Fletch 2 for 4 with a double. Jose Iglesias 2 for 3 RBI and a base on balls. Kurt Suzuki 2 for 4. It was Jaime Barria who was on the mound, who's been showing some good signs out there. Gave up 3 runs on 6 hits, struck out 5. The problem was really this time was a reliever who's actually been having some good outings. Over the last week, he had shut things down and closed games out, but he had a problem with the Dodgers this time, and that's Junior Guerra. He only went a third of an inning, gave up 3 hits and 2 runs, which was good for the Dodgers because that meant that they avoided another Zinnings game. Of course, it wasn't Friday.
It wasn't Friday, so different. Well, Trey Turner for the Dodgers, he was in the lineup at second base, and he was 1 for 3, but he is now being called because he's in blue. He's Sonic the Hedgehog running those bases.
Yep. I
have to say, for a team that really does not have, Chris Taylor has stolen a base. Obviously, Mookie Betts, not as much this year because he's having hip issues. But to have somebody on the team that scores from first, and he's scoring on, a grounder that's in shallow left field, something where most guys are going to be, okay, we're going to stop. He just keeps on going. He is fast, and it's exciting because the Dodgers need that. They don't really have anybody that runs like that or makes those type of plays.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. That was on full display in Sunday's game.
Yeah.
He started out, he's 1 for 3 in his first start at second base for the Dodgers. That game, there was a decent amount. CT3 was like 2 for 4. Cody hit a home run. Corey was 2 for 4. Julio looked pretty decent overall. I think he and Barria had almost the same line. I think both of them gave up 6 hits and 3 runs over 5 innings. Is that about right?
It's about right. And
5 strikeouts, or
yeah, both of them had 5 strikeouts. Barria pitched 6. Urias went 5.
Oh, that's right.
But 6 hits, 3 runs. Julio, I think, had 3 walks. Barria had 2, but 5 strikeouts. Very similar in the lines. So yeah, and I will say with Julio, there's some things. I don't know. He just looks. I think this is probably these is most innings that he's pitched probably in a season, and we really need to get, maybe see where he is as far as going in, because he looks tired sometimes, or labored sometimes.
Well, I would think so, because I don't think he's ever pitched more than he is now, and that's usually a problem. At some point in the season, we saw that with Hyun-Jin Ryu there, where he went through that downtime, because he'd never pitched that much.
Yeah.
At some point, this is where you want to start building a lead, because then you don't need him to pitch as much or all the time. You can give him an extra day off somewhere or something like that. And they don't have that. They're going to be fighting it out till the end, because the Giants are not fading.
No. And every time the Giants were playing the Brewers, and every time, if the Giants lose, the Dodgers lose. If the Giants look like they're going to lose, because they had some Zinnings games with the Brewers, the Dodgers win, but guess who also wins? The Giants. They just have some kind of like magic potion, or they got that little girl that was in the stands the other night when they were playing against the Diamondbacks, putting curses on the players.
That must
giving
be
them
what
the
it
evil
is.
eye. I don't know what it is, but somebody said, if they lose against the Angels, it's all right. They don't need to win that game. No, they need to win every single game. At this point, because of the way the Giants are playing, they have to win. Sunday's game, Walker Buehler was on the mound. And he didn't look bad, but it wasn't, always I'd say his best performance.
He was better than his last outing. Went 6 innings, gave up 4 hits, 1 run. He walked 4, but he did strike out 8. It wasn't too bad. He looked pretty good. I think the one team that's probably happy that he pitched on Sunday is the Phillies.
Right. And we'll talk a little bit about that coming up on who the Dodgers have next. But
that's there. He wasn't too bad, but he looked Buehlerish.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess there's some times where I see him and he's just on point all the time. And maybe that's what you get used to seeing, or that's what you want to see in your head. You're like, oh, Buehler's on the mound. And he looked a lot better than his outing against Houston. Reed Detmers, this was his second start for the Angels.
Yep.
And he went 5 innings, gave up 7 hits, 5 runs, 2 walks, had 5 strikeouts, did give up a home run. But the thing I liked about Reed Detmers is, he starts out and they were just hitting. It was just constant. But then he settles down. And I guess this is all pitchers, but for somebody who this is the second start in the majors, he settles down, he gets into that rhythm. And I think the more he pitches, obviously, I think the better he's going to get. And I think he's really going to be a good addition to a pitching staff that needs it.
He gave up all 5 of the runs in the first 2 innings. His home run was to Albert Pujols, number 676. But after that first 2 innings, he shut the Dodgers down.
Mm-hmm.
And he throws a lot of strikes. And that was one thing that I heard. I was watching the Dodgers network versus the Angels, and Oral Hershiser, Joe Davis both were saying, wow, he just goes right after you. He never backs away from it. And he's not like, okay, now let me start nibbling on the corners and trying out here and making things worse. He accepted this happened and go. And Joe Madden has the luxury of letting him go a little farther to see what's going on. And that's something we've talked about. You got to let these guys figure out how to pitch out of jams and tough situations. They had in the second inning, they did have last year, somebody that got in a trade, Packy Naughton from the Reds, was up. And I thought Reed Detmers looked young. Packy Naughton looks like he should be playing in the Little League World Series.
Well, he has that name, Packy.
Packy. Yeah.
He should be in the Little Leagues.
So this was more like, if you're a Dodger fan, what you wanted to see. And on a Sunday afternoon of watching a game, Trey Turner really showed what you were talking about as far as that whole Sonic the Hedgehog thing. He's scoring from first on a single that really was poorly played by the Angels as well, but he was smart enough to do that. It changes the dynamic of the team with Trey Turner on the field. When he gets on base, it's a different game.
Yeah, it really is. There was a hit, and of course I can't remember ever, but and it was a long, it looked like if it had gone over his head, or over the wall, obviously it would have been a home run, but it was a long fly out to Brandon Marsh. And Trey Turner was on first, and he had already started around.
He was already around second.
And then Brandon Marsh caught that ball, and he got back to first. And a lot of times you would have seen, really close play or maybe an out there, but not with Trey Turner. So
mostly an out. And
yeah,
because he was so far around, they were looking to make sure he touched second on his way back to first.
Yeah. And he's another one, as I mentioned, with David Fletcher. I've watched him play obviously with the Nationals, but just in these last couple of games, I've watched him play with the Dodgers. He's another one that uses those, the he wants to be good everywhere. He wants to be good when he's playing defense and offense. And David Fletcher is the same, and he's smart baseball, wise. So he knows, I got to touch the bag. Otherwise, there could be some seasoned players that would miss that.
So overall, a good game for the Angels. They're seeing a lot of good stuff out of some of their younger guys. Brandon Marsh on that play made a spectacular running catch into the wall to catch that ball. And then Adele, a couple of doubles in the game and an RBI. He's still a defensive liability overall. And he almost blew a basic pop-up. I don't think everybody saw this, but when it came down, the way that he just kind of lazily threw his glove up and he caught the ball, it almost, where it went, he didn't squeeze it closed, and he almost lost it.
And was it Sunday's game or Saturday's game where he went to make a play? He was trying to get the ball and he flipped over into the stands.
That was Sunday.
That was Sunday, right? Okay. So on Sunday's game, he was trying to, make a play, and he ended up in the stands.
He had a short wall out there, and he was situationally unaware. And I mean, he did make an effort, but he's going to end up, because he doesn't take a look at these things. He just goes out and figures, well, I can play and I'll be fine. And then he'll end up injured like that, or he will miss plays.
Yeah. Situational awareness. Definitely.
Yep. So Packy Naughton came in after Reed Detmers, threw an inning, gave up a run and 2 hits. Mike Myers gave up 2 runs. Sam Selman, who had pitched with San Francisco earlier this year, was a pickup. Came in to finish everything out. There was a lot of positives for the Angels, even in the 8-2 loss. They did come away with a 4-3 win on the week. The Dodgers 3-2 on the week. So, 1 game over 500 for the week. Justin Brule made his MLB debut in this game, as well as Kevin Quackenbush and his awesome beard. He started out okay, but then although he was the one who got us to Jumbo Jack territory. So even though Quackenbush didn't pitch well in the hole,
right,
he still got us some food.
Still helped. Planet Head has a beard, not as long. He keeps it more trimmed as Quackenbush, but he always has to have a comb, and he's always combing his beard. And I wonder, in between pitches or in the bullpen, if Quackenbush is out there combing his beard.
The one thing I do need to say about Quackenbush, this was his first outing since 2018.
Yeah, that's a big time. From
a third of
not
an
being
inning
on the mound.
He had moments where he looked pretty good, but unfortunately, for the most part, the Angels figured him out in a hurry.
Yeah,
which is crazy because the Angels don't have a lot of players that figure people out in a hurry. They can, but they haven't. They suffer from the same problems, though. It made me wonder with the Angels. They're around 500. What if Trout and Rendon were having typical years for them and were part of this team? What if we had at least one solid every week pitcher, however, that's always good every time they come up, kind of like Dylan Bundy was last year, so that would they be up higher in the playoff standings, at least, with a better shot than they are now? I wonder.
Well, I think a lot of people wonder that. And then the other thing a lot of people wonder is Mike Trout turned 30 and
he had
a birthday. Now? And yeah, so he's
and
30.
Usually he hits a home run on his birthday when he plays.
Yeah, not this time.
So we don't know when Trout's coming back. With 50 games about left, the question is, do we need him to come back? Should he just take the rest of the season off?
Well, I will say, seeing Brandon Marsh out there, I'm sure it would be fun, nice to have Trout back, but where the Angels are in the standings, they're not going to the playoffs. Keep Brandon Marsh out there, get Mike Trout healthy, get that calf right, because that seems to be, it looks like it's healing, but there's still something there, and let him have one of the best seasons of his career next season. And everybody can be like, 31-year-old Mike Trout is out there, running.
He's incredible.
Yeah. Running circles around these younger guys. Because I don't see a reason really at this point. Get him as healthy as you can. Rendon's out for the season. So Brandon Marsh is fitting in really nicely there. He's got another, they should have a battle of the beards.
There you go. I like it.
Charlie Blackmon in there, Quackenbush, whoever else will get the battle of the beards.
Perfect. So if you notice, didn't really say anything about Shohei Ohtani, and this is because while he played in Texas and pitched and had a decent week, in LA, he was just a pinch hitter. He did pinch hit in each game, but they walked him one time. Actually, I think he got walked twice. And then one time, I don't remember if he struck out or flew out or whatever.
He struck out. Bruce Gratterall struck him out.
That's right.
And he was excited.
So he really didn't have anything because there's no DH. And he did go out and play the outfield for a little bit after, I believe it was on Sunday's game. He went out to the outfield, but that was it. So we didn't see a lot of Shohei. The Dodgers fans didn't get to see a lot of him, but we'll see more of him in the coming week. The Dodgers, the one thing I wanted to see happen, last year and even the last series. Well, the last series I wasn't as broken up either. This one I didn't really care so much who won. In fact, I was rooting for Albert to have 3 big games against them. He started the Friday night game, but didn't really do anything until Sunday when he took Reed Detmer's yard for a 2-run home run. And they walked him, so Packy Naughton didn't have to give up a home run as well, because I think that's probably what would have happened. So number 676, he only needs, I think, 20 more to catch A-Prod to time. So he needs 21 more, which I'm sad to say, unless he goes on some major run, is not going to happen this season and probably won't happen. So he'll end up 5th. He is 3rd on the RBI all-time list with 2,144. He had a couple of RBIs, 3 RBIs over the weekend. So, he only hit 222 for the week, but still.
And the question was answered. If Tio Berto hits a home run, who hugs him? And that is Max Muncy hugs him.
Right. There you go.
Because he hugs everybody who gets a home run, and everybody's like, well, who hugs him? Max was right there, ready to give him a hug. So
sweet. All right. This coming week for the Dodgers, they're heading to Philadelphia to take on the surging Phillies. This is a team you wanted to see a couple of months ago.
Yeah,
you get
not
them right
now.
On an 8-game. As of Sunday, they were on an 8-game winning streak. They have completely changed the complexion of the NL East and their own season, being over 500 when they were under or at for most of the season so far. So they're making a run at the best time. And then they'll slide over to the best time to see the Mets, who are slumping. And I guess Javi Baez may not be available for this series. We'll talk more about that when we spin the wheel of IL. So let's go with the Dodgers first. Who's your player of the week?
So this one was tough because I could have gone with AJ, who continues to hit and really is just, totally different hitter in the box than he has been. And of course, CT3, but CT3, there were times where, he didn't hit. So this time I went with somebody that I don't think that I have picked all season, and that's Mookie Betts. And I went with Mookie. He was 6 for 16, 375. And I'm sure if he were to listen to this, he'd be like, I am not player of the week, but he is my player of the week. He had 3 RBIs, 2 home runs, and he's playing with, a hip issue that Dave Roberts has said is not going away. You got to manage it. But he's out there. He even in Saturday's game was batting third. Trey Turner was the leadoff. So yeah, to give some of that. And but he's still out there, and he's getting better. So I thought that Mookie deserved it. He did have an off day, a scheduled off day on Sunday, but again, we'll see if he plays in these upcoming series. But player of the week, Mookie Betts.
I went a completely different direction because I believe, and I have co-players of the week.
All right.
I believe that these two players have changed the complexion of the team. Now, whether the team as a whole comes around and these two guys really help change things, and it gets the Dodgers to where they need to be to overtake the Giants. I've given my co-players of the week to Max Scherzer and to Trey Turner. And Trey is specifically because of what I saw on Sunday and just the way that he can change the whole game with his speed on the base paths. I think that the Dodgers are in a good spot if they don't keep Corey, because I think Trey Turner overall, fielding wise, is a better shortstop, and he can provide a lot of offense. So if Corey doesn't stay, I did see a article about Corey in the LA Times. I think it was Bill Shaken who wrote Corey signing with the Angels would be.
Oh.
And then Turner moves into short, and I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens there.
They were also on my list. I really thought I could go with them, but I'm sure that they will be my players of the week in, coming weeks. But
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then, so now let's look at the Angels. They've got a homestand that started off with Toronto coming in on the first game. It's a doubleheader. With the first game, it's a split doubleheader. So the first game will be the makeup from when they were somewhere in Florida Blue Jays for one of the games there, and then the next game will be actually part of the 3-game set, the scheduled 3-game set. And then they have the Asterisks for 3. So they'll have a 7-game week. They had Monday off, which they probably needed just to take a break, settle in at home. And the first game of the doubleheader is a Blue Jays home game. And the Angels actually coming up will have a makeup game versus the Yankees as well from one that was missed. Player of the week.
This is another one. I probably went in a totally different direction than I thought I was going to go with. But I was just looking over, and because pitching is always a concern, I think for every team now, but especially for the Angels, I went with Sam Selman. I know he's, he comes in and does some relief work. He was, in the trade with Tony Watson. The Angels got Sam. He pitched 3 2/3 innings, gave up a hit, but didn't give up any runs, didn't give up any walks, only 5 strikeouts, but he's not, he's only pitching, 3 2/3 innings over that entire time. And from what I saw when he pitched against the Dodgers. I think good pickup for the Angels in the bullpen, and I just thought that he, maybe a pitcher, deserved Player of the Week honors from me for the Angels.
That's a tough one to do pitchers with the Angels.
Yeah,
but they have been throwing pretty well overall since for this second half of the season. I went with Jose Iglesias. In 7 games, he hit 280, 2 doubles, 7 RBIs. He had a home run, scored 3 runs, and walked twice. That home run he had was versus the Dodgers. The interesting thing is that usually that I saw about him was when I was looking up his stats, normally with WAR, wins above replacement. So basically, if you're replaced by a AAA player, how many wins are you better? So like Shohei was 6.8 WAR, I think we talked about last week. So he's good for almost 7 more wins than a standard replacement from AAA. Jose Iglesias, usually when you look at the WARs, it's a negative WAR or a positive WAR. Jose Iglesias' WAR is 0, meaning that he could be replaced by a AAA and you don't gain anything, but you don't lose anything. So I think he's probably a little better than a 0, but that stood out to me that normally you don't see that. But he's had a good week and he's been contributing. So that's my POW, Jose Iglesias. Iggy. All right, it's time to tiptoe around the league, see what's happening. We already talked about the surging Phillies. We'll talk a little bit about just the tweaks in the NL East, because it does look different. But first, Players of the Week.
So for the second straight week, George Springer of the Toronto Blue Jays is the American League Player of the Week. He hit .364 with 3 homers, a triple, 3 doubles, 11 RBIs, and a 1.177 OPS over 8 games. And he obviously likes playing in Toronto, being back in Canada, and and he hit a 3-run homer off of Red Sox closer Matt Barnes with 2 outs, and Toronto had come back from a 5-run deficit. So exciting for the Blue Jays. So second week in a row.
He's definitely helped the Blue Jays. Not that he needed to add it to the excitement level, because they're an exciting team regardless, but he's definitely jumped in there and added. And I think at this point, if you were still thinking about him being an asterisk, you're starting to forget, if you haven't already.
It's right. I'm glad you brought that up, because I was thinking about that, because he was part of that, but he's a Blue Jay now, and he's really cementing himself there as a Blue Jay. And I think that's what you need to do. I mean, and I've always liked George Springer. He before all of that. And he just needs to keep that going.
If he keeps it up, he and Vladdy Jr. will both have statues out front of the Rogers Center. And then for the NL, a former Angel.
CJ Cron, who now plays for the Rockies. This is his first weekly honor. He hit .556 with 4 homers, 16 RBIs, and a 1.914 OPS in 5 games. He had 2 multi-homer games. He scored 8 runs and drove in 13 in the 3-game sweep of the Marlins. Good for CJ Cron and the Rockies, because the Rockies don't have a lot to smile about.
If he could have done that a little more consistently, he may have. I doubt that he would have still been an Angel, but he's bounced around. He has some moments, but he seems to have found a home in Colorado. So good for him. Way to go. All right, real quick, something that I noticed was, we talked about the Phillies on a win streak, the Mets on a losing streak. The Braves have also gone over 500, and it was the Mets, the Phillies, the Braves. Now it is the Phillies, the Braves, and the Mets.
Yeah, totally different look there. I think some people, maybe were counting out the Braves to a certain extent and really focusing on on the Mets and then the Phillies. But yeah, it's totally different. Washington still is the same, but those three teams are the major players in the East. And Atlanta's 2 games behind Philly. Mets are 2.5 behind Atlanta. So that could be exciting as we get deeper into this season.
A real pennant race. That, and then looks like that we have that in the AL East as well, where the Rays and the Red Sox are battling it out. Tampa Bay showed why they are where they were. The Orioles started off on Sunday with a great game, scoring a lot of runs early, and Tampa Bay came back and beat them to sweep the Orioles over last weekend. Something else I thought about. The Mets were in first place for 86 days of the season, and at one point were 5 games ahead of the Phillies. They can't get all in. One other question when it comes to the playoffs, the Reds, who have been surging behind Joey Votto, can they catch the Dregs in the wild card? So we'll have to keep watching that, but that was just something a question that popped in my head. I guess a lot of it will all depend on whether any of the Reds or the Dregs or any of the contenders end up riding the wheel of IL.
Oh, the wheel of IL. So Kyle Schwarber, he had injured his hamstring. Actually, when the Nationals were playing the Dodgers, was on the IL, was traded to the Red Sox, started to rehab, but now has a groin injury. Ouch! He is back on the IL. Gonna need some more time. So I don't know. He took some hints from Alex Bregman. Not sure, but he's back. Jason Hayward has inflammation in his index finger, so he's the one Cub that you probably know their name, but he's on the IL. Aroldis Chapman is on the IL, just as the Yankees are starting to heat up a little bit. He goes on the IL. Had some inflammation to elbow ligaments, but it looks like it's going to be okay. No real damage there. Javi Baez. He was playing shortstop because his friend Francisco Lindor is on the IL with an oblique injury. Ouch! He now is having some hip issues. He's day-to-day. They haven't formally put him on the IL, but that'll be interesting because now you got Javi and Francisco possibly on the IL together. Jacob deGrom will have another MRI, and if everything looks good, he'll start throwing, so we'll probably see him again. Fernando Tatis Jr. on the IL, but is taking batting practice and is out in the outfield shagging balls. And a lot of people are like, I don't know, because some of the things he's doing, but he's determined to be back. Brock Stewart.
You think I'm sexy and you want my body. All you got to do is call.
That's a name that a lot of Dodger fans know. He is having Tommy John surgery.
Ouch!
Jimmy Nelson, I did not mention this during the Dodger segment. He has been pretty good as a reliever for the Dodgers this season. He is also having Tommy John surgery. They are both out for the season.
Do you think they get a discount for more than one?
I wonder. It seems to be that way. Sixto Sanchez of the Marlins is having shoulder surgery that will end his season. And I mentioned the COVID-19 IL, still on the same wheel, but different. It looks a little different.
It seems like that wheel's getting bigger every week.
It gets bigger. And I mentioned that Don Mattingly of the Marlins had COVID, had tested positive for COVID, but nobody else on the Marlins had tested positive because we were like, well, nobody hangs around with him. Obviously, that's not true. Jazz Chisholm must have been hanging around with Don Mattingly because he is now on the IL with COVID. Josh Hader and Randy Arozarena, both victims of COVID. On the IL, can't play. But the biggest name this week that I think was a little bit of Well, I don't know. Was it a shocker? Anthony Rizzo of the New York Yankees has also tested positive for COVID. Now we know Garrett Cole, I think Gary Sanchez. There's several that have in that clubhouse more than once have tested positive for COVID-19. I don't know. It's like just going through. Anthony Rizzo had made comments about, getting vaccinated, but hopefully he's okay. And I think he is, from what Aaron Boone said, that, it's kind of minimal, his symptoms.
I think if it had gotten bad for him, that we would have heard more about that.
Right. Yeah. So, but, with all these different, lots of things going on, obviously with the Delta variant, there is talks between MLB and the MLBPA, the Players Association, to maybe increase protocols for COVID, because one of the things that the Yankees said is, we were in Florida, we got back, our players started testing positive for COVID. So, and that's, I don't know. That's everything is blamed on Florida, but, is it something? I don't know. So
it's in the water.
It's in the water, but maybe so.
I was thinking, if you're like the Phillies and you have players out, because isn't Didi Gregorius out? Do you want him to come back off the IL when you're on a surge without him?
Right. Yeah. I wonder. That's
you want to mess up the team chemistry?
Yeah. You're on the IL. Let's see. You hit him with the hammer on his knee. Oh, sorry, you're on the IL.
Yeah, you're going to continue to be on the IL.
On the IL.
All right. Well, we'll get updated on the Will next week. Want to check out today with a positive thing. This week is finally, even though they thought about doing it last year, they were smart to not. The Field of Dreams game between the two same teams, the White Sox and the Yankees, is happening, and that's happening today.
Yeah.
12.
So the White Sox will be the home team in the matchup because of their role in the 1989 Field of Dreams movie that you and I both saw in the theater at the same time.
I know. Wow.
So, in which the ghosts of Shoeless Joe Jackson and other members of the 1919 Black Sox play on the diamond in the Iowa cornfield. But this is one of the most expensive regular season tickets in Major League Baseball history. About 8,000 fans in a cornfield in Iowa. The average ticket price is about $1,400, but a maximum of $4,000.
Not surprised.
And not surprising, but residents of Iowa could put their names into a lottery to be able to purchase tickets, not get a ticket, which I thought would have been better because they're blacked out from everything.
I was going to say, they can't even watch this game.
No.
Anyway.
And they finally maybe be able to buy a ticket or put my name into a sweepstakes kind of thing. And it's just so that they can buy a ticket. They don't even get a free ticket to go to the game. So I don't know what the MLB has against Iowa, but I think it's on ESPN. So they probably would get to watch it because it's a national ESPN game. It's on Fox.
Okay. Fox. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's all the same.
It's all the same. And if it was on ESPN, we wouldn't have to deal with Joe Buck, but because it's on Fox, you will have Joe Buck.
Right. It was A Fraud or Joe Buck.
Yeah. So which one?
I think I would have gone with A Fraud.
Yeah. But
although
it should be
Joe
fun.
Buck doesn't bother me the way that he bothers so many others.
Yeah.
Because mostly I don't pay attention to him.
Right. Yeah. But it'll be a fun game. Field of Dreams in Iowa. White Sox versus the Yankees wearing replica jerseys.
Are you sure it's Iowa?
I'm sure it's Iowa. Dryersville, Iowa.
Could it be heaven? And that'll do it for this week's Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast.
Remember, you can find us on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com, and on Facebook and Instagram at Sibling Rivalry BB.
We're also on Twitter at Sibling Rivalry BB without the A. Email us, show@siblingrivalrybb.com. We'd love to hear what you think, so subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to our podcast.
Next week on SRBB, the pennant races are heating up. We'll check in on the hottest matchups.
Yeah, like the Cubs and Marlins.
You're out!
I wonder, Planet Beard has Planet Beard.